All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back again. It's been like I don't even know how long it's been, but
Forever.
outside the square circle is back. We're gonna. I'm not gonna. Every time I say we're gonna keep trying to do these consistently, it won't. So I'm just gonna say this is episode one.
Yep.
We're gonna
The
start
rebrand.
here, and then we're gonna see how this goes. But stick with us. We're gonna talk about some fights that happened yesterday and future fights. Um, we can start with Francis Barthélemy and Robert Easter Jr. Go ahead, Frank. Take it up. What do you think?
So
What did you think about the fight?
I'm just gonna say this. I literally never in my life have fallen asleep during a fight. And me and you being big boxing fans, we watch as much as we can. I've seen some boring fights before. That fight yesterday was something different. It was and it actually puzzled me that they both fought this way because for me and a lot of people going into the fight, I'm sure you felt this way too. This was a crossroads fight for them. So I mean like Barthélemy has been in some good close fights, his last few fights, but he was one of those dudes who's super talented but never really got to the mountain peak. And a win against Easter gets you a title shot, I think, immediately. I don't think that it works that way the flip side. I don't think Easter winning this fight gets him an immediate title shot, but it's still something to build off of. And for both of them to fight the way that they were, I guess I'll also say I woke up and watched the rest of the fight, and I really wasn't impressed, and I thought a draw was warranted. I felt like both guys really didn't want to take any chances. And, me and you were talking offline before we started recording here, and people who have been with us for a while, and I won't be shocked if we've lost some listeners after not being able to record for so long, but people have heard this from us in the past. Robert Easter is like missing something, and I don't know if it's mental. It surely doesn't seem to me like it's physical. He seems to be in shape. He has the height. He has the reach. He has solid knockout power. His volume is only okay, but I mean, we've seen guys reach the mountaintop with only okay volume. Like you don't have to throw that many punches to get you there. I don't know. It's like he's missing something, and this fight really was no different for me. And in terms of like where he goes from here, I mean, a rematch, I suppose, another fight of that kind of quality of fighter. And that's not to down Barthélemy. I think he's a good fighter. But with the way both of them fought, I mean, they both kind of proved themselves to be kind of B or B minus guys. What was your takeaway from the fight?
I'm starting to just say this, and I mean no disrespect to Francis because he's a tough guy, but I just feel like Robert Easter Jr. is just an okay fighter now. You know, because I used to think that what he's gonna be something special, but he just maybe he needed to switch up a trainer. But I don't know. Even after having his dad tell him how to win a fight, his dad was giving him good direction. He just can't. He just didn't do it. So I just think maybe he just isn't that great of a fighter. Maybe he is just a good fighter and not a great fighter. You know,
Yeah,
I'm starting to believe that about him because he used to have the problem of not fighting tall. Then
yeah.
he's that like because he's the hunch in all the time.
Hmm.
Then when he corrects that, he just isn't as aggressive. It's just if it's one thing, it's another. So I'm just thinking maybe he just isn't that fighter. I mean, I would like for him to prove me wrong because I like him. He has the physical advantages at 135. He should be able to not dominate, but he should be able to have the advantage to make it a good fight, if not beat all of those guys there. And 135 is stacked, but he just doesn't cut it. It's like it's like the saying, "Good fighters find ways to win." You know what I mean? And bad fighters find ways to lose.
Yeah.
Now, to me, it's just like Robert Easter. He just don't find the way to get wins when he step up against better competition. He doesn't find a way to do it,
And
and
it's like he
this
didn't
is how I
even he
feel.
doesn't he doesn't exactly find a way to lose either. Like all his step up fights have been super outside of the Mikey Garcia fight have been super close, and some
Yeah,
people have scored that him losing, some people score, but they're all like 7-5 type of fights. He hasn't had that signature dominant, or not even dominant, because that's not fair. Like a signature clear win at the A or B level,
hmm
and even to a point that we both were talking about before we got on air was. he looked good in the Mikey Garcia fight. Granted, I had him losing 8 or 9 rounds, but he was fighting tall. He looked good. He posed Mikey a lot of problems. And that to me means something against a top pound for pound guy. And when you can get Mikey a little flustered, when you can make him look a little bit lost every now and then, that means something. So to me, that means you should be able to beat and dominate guys who aren't at that level. And it's like I can't do. Can you think of another fighter in recent memory that has felt like this? Like has the physical advantages, looks to be a very good fighter, and then when he gets in the ring, there's just something missing.
Yeah, it's something missing. He just doesn't complete the task, and I think look at cause he switched his trainer and then he switched back to his dad. So I don't know. I don't know what it is. Like that's what I'm saying. I look is I don't know what it is because Robert Easter should just be better than he is. So I don't know exactly what it is. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I know like all the answers to it, but I just know he should be better.
I agree, and that's why I'm so perplexed with it. I feel like more times than not, you and me can analyze a fighter and say, well, he just needs to do a little bit more of this. He needs to do a little bit more of that. Like Adrian Broner, just let your hands go more. You're so talented, right. Just let your hands go. But it's like with him, he has a solid output. And when he fights tall, he seems to be okay. When he fights on the inside, he seems to be okay. It's like, where is this glimpse of greatness? Where can we zone in and be like, just be this guy? And it's like, we just don't, we don't get that with him. And I'm perplexed. I mean, what do you think's next? For me, I just flat out say it. I don't think there's any more options for him. I think he just goes for an immediate rematch with Bartholomew.
I mean, they just take the rematch with him because, and then after that, but a fight I would like to see Devin Haney and him fight. Because Devin
that would be a solid fight.
Has been showing that he is what people say he is. Now, so I not only say that fight because we'll figure out if Haney is the next champion at 135. Will he be that guy? And then we'll figure out for Robert Easter if he can, because now this is a young, hungry guy just like him. Got all great skills and ability. Them two fighting each other will answer a lot of questions.
I'll tell you this too. I think that stable is set up for good success just because if Bunny can get another belt again and Tank wants to, I think I've said this years ago when people thought I was crazy. I think Tank wins that fight pretty easily. He may even knock Easter out.
Really?
I think so, bro. I think the only guy who beats Tank down there is Lomachenko. And Lomachenko hasn't looked his last fight, Loma looked great, but the two fights before that, he looked shaky. Linares and why am I blank? Who did he? Do you remember who he fought after Jorge Linares? What was it? Mick Arroyo? It was somebody. He didn't look all that great. And granted, he still pulled out wins, so that to me still means something. Where you're having what seems to be an off night and still pull out wins, but he at this point in their careers, if Tank were to fight him this year or next, he may be catching Lomachenko at a good time. But I do think that's the only guy I would favor over Tank at 130 or 135 at this point.
Okay. It's okay. Next week, the fight we have is going to be a big one. It's going to be Canelo. Let's talk about that a little bit before let's just dive into it.
I'm excited for it.
Fight. I want to I'm gonna start if I'm gonna touch on this. I want to say this now. I think because this seems to be the lingering. It seems to be the lingering sentiment of fights. If Jacobs don't knock down or dominate Canelo, he's gonna lose by decision. This is gonna be a close fight, and everybody knows I got Canelo in my top 3 pound for pound. So I love Canelo. But if this is going to be a tough fight, a close fight, and Canelo's going to get the decision because Canelo gets decisions. And I just want to say, I'm one of the guys that think Danny Jacobs and Triple G, that fight was a draw for me. Just for me, that fight was a draw. So this It's not to say, because we've seen this happen. One fight styles make fights. One guy can have a close fight here,
Yep.
and that guy can beat that guy, and then they fight each other, and then it doesn't work out. But I really think that this fight is going to be really close. It's going to be to the edge, and Canelo's going to get a decision. I usually don't make predictions this soon, but that's just how I see it. Unless Danny come in there and just bum rush him like he did
Peter Quillen.
Peter Quillen. Unless he just comes in and just bull rushes Canelo ass like he did Peter Quillen and catch Canelo off guard. I think we're looking at a Canelo close decision win, and the reason why is just because it's like I don't want to say the judges are biased, but Canelo's the champion. He's the man. To beat the champion, you got to beat the champion. You got to dominate the champion, and I don't know if Danny Jacobs will dominate Canelo because Canelo's skill level is really high.
Yeah, I'm curious. You know what I'm curious about that fight is what Danny Jacobs are we going to see? Because the game plan that he had against Triple G was really to switch it up. He started off on the back foot, and that was when Triple G, the first few rounds, Triple G dominated because you don't let Triple G move forward. And that was exactly why, a lot of people thought Triple G won that first Canelo fight. When Triple G's moving forward, that's when he does damage. When you get him to either stand still in the middle of the ring or push Triple G back, that's when you pose problems to him. And that's why I scored Canelo winning that second fight against him, right? Mm-hmm. So we've seen Danny Jacobs implement different styles before. But that being said, I don't know if he moves forward too much against Canelo, I don't think he wins that fight. Because I think Canelo is the crisper, more accurate guy between the two. And I think, just like you said, I think a big part of the reason why Canelo gets decisions is because his shots, the shots that he lands, he doesn't throw that many punches each round, but when he lands, they look beautiful.
Big shots. He lands the clear, more precise shots. You can see them.
Exactly. So, but with that being said, on the flip side, if Danny Jacobs decides to be on the back foot and makes Canelo lead, I think Canelo's going to do a lot of what he did against Erislandy Lara and try and work the body, try and cut off the ring, even though he's not the best at cutting off the ring, but he's going to try to do so. And I think that game plan is going to have Danny Jacobs losing because judges seem to like Canelo moving forward as well because he's putting in more. It kind of seems more of the effort. So I'm curious to see what Danny Jacobs wants to do. Is he going to mix it up between the two? Is he going to stay in the pocket mid-range and both guys won't move very much? I'm curious. That being said,
Do you think Danny Jacobs' best option is to use his length? Do you think that's his best option? To stay on the outside?
I don't know. I don't, because the fights that I've seen him stay on the outside, he doesn't look as comfortable. He likes to be in the pocket and he likes to move forward. He looks a little awkward on the outside sometimes, and that prevailed when he fought Derevianchenko, in which a fight I scored for Jacobs. I had him winning 8-4, but he really started to take over that fight when he started fighting at close to mid-range. But I don't know if he can win the fight against Canelo at close to mid-range. I think Canelo's timing's a little bit better. I think his punches are a little bit more crisp. That being said, Canelo ate all of Triple G's shots. We know he has a great chin. But the thing with Triple G is that he doesn't disguise his punches as well as Danny Jacobs does. Canelo had the opportunity to be able to roll with punches against Triple G. I think Danny's a little bit more explosive, and I think he sets his shots up a little bit better than Triple G does. So I can see Danny hurting Canelo, especially early when they're still feeling out. And I kind of wanted to go to your point. If I'm Danny Jacobs, I'm starting this fight shot out of the cannon for the first 2 rounds and seeing if I can't get him out of there early. Because I think the longer the fight lasts, I think Canelo is going to have the advantage.
And I agree with that. And that's what I think. I think he should just come out there, put foot to pedal, and floor Canelo.
Yeah, that's what I would try to do.
I would do. I would just floor him and see where that goes. I mean, but my thing is, if he tries that, if he gets tagged, will he hold up? Because we know Danny to get. We know Danny Jacobs. We've seen him get hurt. We've seen him be dropped. Um, some people say his chin is questionable, but I always say the fact that he always gets back up, or at least,
Yeah.
I like to say that he still is a tough guy and he can take a good shot. But that's something that in the back of his mind, I know he probably have it. Like he probably want to fight that way, but he's gonna have to be careful because he don't want to get dropped and hurt because if Sergio Mora is able to do that to you, then Canelo, you might want to be careful if you want to fight that way. But I think that's his best option.
But the other reason why I think it's his best option as well, though, is that Canelo, when you've seen outside of Canelo fighting the lower level of competition, when he's gotten his knockouts, they've been one-shot knockouts. The Amir Khan fight, the Carlos Baldomir, because he had Miguel Cotto hurt a few times, and he didn't really go for the kill. He's not the type of guy that wants to get. I mean, he especially since the Floyd fight, he's kind of learned that. I'm going to pace myself. If the knockout comes, it comes. Great. But he's not going to extend himself and press for a knockout, even if he has somebody hurt. So when I think of that, if I'm Danny Jacobs, I have that in the back of my mind and say, even if he hurts me, unless he puts me out cold, he's not going to go in for the kill. So I'm going to have a chance to wrap him up. I'm going to have a chance to get my legs up under me and then kind of start fresh from there and implement a game plan.
Another point I was about to say is, I gotta take my head off to Canelo. Canelo consistently takes hard, tough fights. I want to make sure I do. I want to make sure I say that Canelo, when it comes to his resume, he has continually fought top-notch competition. He has ducked no one. He has backed down from no one, and he has fought any and everybody. Like we always say, our favorite saying is, "I want to fight Lord." You know what I mean? when Oscar was like, "You really don't need this fight." Like Laura's a really tricky at that time, really tricky, hard fight, and it was one of those fights where you have all everything to lose, and Laura has anything to gain, and he still won that fight.
Yeah.
So and this is one of those fights with Danny Jacobs. He didn't have to fight Danny Jacobs because he's gonna do numbers with the zone anyway. He's already gotten paid. He could have just picked somebody else, but he wants to consistently fight the tough fighters. And I have to take my hat off to Canelo. I gotta say that.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? I'm actually very shocked that more people don't have him number one pound for pound. Just because, I mean, you look at some of these guys' resumes. I love Lomachenko. I love Terrence Crawford. I love Errol Spence. They don't have nearly the resume that Canelo has. I feel like there are a certain number of people who can, and they kind of do this with everybody. They look down the resume and they say, well, he lost to Floyd. Floyd's the best fighter of the generation.
Right.
That's you can't knock him for losing that fight. And then you go to the Alfredo Angulo, which was a comeback fight. Cool. Then he goes right to Erislandy Lara. Then he goes, even before Floyd, Austin Trout, a fight that he didn't have to take. People thought that he was going to duck Austin Trout after he beat Miguel Cotto. And then you have the 2 Triple G fights. No matter how you scored them, he's taking these fights. And I feel like people, and it's not just Canelo. People did it with Floyd. People do it with Manny. People do it with, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder. Once you continue to get higher on this ladder, they start nitpicking. But then you look at guys like I said, there's no disrespect because he's actually my pound for pound number one. But you look at guys like Terrence Crawford, who didn't have that level of competition, and they continue to. It seems like a lot of those same people who are nitpicking the Canelos, the Floyds, the Mannys, the Keith Thurmans even, and Danny Garcias, they make excuses for Terrence Crawford for him not having like that signature win. Right? And it's like, I feel like you just can't have that both ways. Like Canelo, no matter how you're scoring some of these fights, he's being competitive and arguably winning against the top level of competition when he goes out there. And you add in the fact that, granted, he's on DAZN now, so maybe this example doesn't exactly work, but he can fight anybody and get 300,000 pay-per-view buys. He's going to do numbers no matter who he fights. We knew without a shadow of a doubt that he was not going to lose that fight against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., and that still sold like 1.2.
We knew he wasn't going to lose to Liam Smith. We
Yeah.
we knew this, but
And
It
that
was
did, I
still,
think, 300 or 400,000.
yeah, he still made it an exciting fight, and he still did numbers.
So I think you add that in, and I'm a little bit more shy. I have Canelo at number 2. I currently have Crawford 1, Canelo 2, Lomachenko 3. Um, and I just think I'm a little bit more shocked that people don't see him in that light still.
They should. If they don't, they should. I want
I
to ask
agree.
you this: at 140, I haven't been keeping track of the 140 tournament, but do you think anybody will stop Progress?
Oh, and you know what? We kind of went right from the bunny fight to this, probably out of excitement. I don't. I've mainly just kept up. Let me see. I know I've seen some fights. Let me actually pull up the tournament. I don't see anyone beating Prograis. He's incredible. I think he's the best fighter at 140, and I'm curious. He seems to be tapped out at 140 though. Like you look at his body type, you look at him on the scales. He's not the biggest guy at 140, so I'm curious to see if and when he does plan on going to 147 and seeing how he translates moving there. I think stylistically he has the style to beat a lot of those dudes, but if he didn't have the size, I don't think he'll do.
I want
I
to know
don't think
can
he'll
he
do
carry his
very
power
much.
there. That's my thing. Like can he see that kid can punch? I want to know can he carry his power to 147 if he chose to do so. But before he do that, I want to see him and Maurice Hooker fight.
Yeah,
I want to
I
see that
wouldn't be
mighty
mad at
Maurice
that.
Hooker fight.
I wouldn't be mad at that at all. I think so Prograis beat Flanagan and then he fought Relic. Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it at all. He's levels above Taylor Martin. Who I know I saw that fight. I'm blanking on who won. Yigit's an okay fight. No, he's gonna dominate. He's gonna knock everyone out in that tournament, which I think
Yeah,
is great for him to get under his belt. I'm curious to see if maybe Mikey fights him at 140. I think that's a great fight.
that is a great fight.
Man, I wish we were recording. I wish we were recording when the Spence Mikey fight. I feel like that's a little far gone to touch on it, but I'm still excited. I'm excited about Mikey's future because he showed me a little bit. I know a lot of people were down on his performance, but I think he showed a lot more than he didn't against the best fighter at 147. Um, that said, another fight we didn't touch on was Sor Rungvisai versus Estrada, which was a barn burner. And I know you said you didn't get a chance to see it. It looked a lot like the first fight, a barn burner for the most part, and then Estrada started to box a little bit more, and he pulled away with the win. You know what's funny? And I hope we don't have too many British listeners because they're going to get mad at me for saying this, but British commentators are so biased. I'm sitting here watching this fight, and it had to have been about round 8. And to me, it was a very even fight. I thought I had it, 5-3 Estrada, and they're after every round they're just like, yeah, that's another Estrada round. He's dominating. There's no way that Sor Rungvisai is in this fight. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, man, like this is a close ass fight. And if they announce these cards, and the cards were 115, 113, I think 116, 112, and then 115, 113 again. And they were like, I can't believe they had it this close. And I'm thinking, like, what fight were you guys watching? And they do that a lot, though. Like, there are certain fights that I stream, whether I'm out on Saturday and I'm not by my TV, so I'll just grab an illegal stream real quick. And well, especially with the World Boxing Super Series, and DAZN, I can't get my DAZN. I've tried; they won't accept my card, so I have to stream all their stuff. I'm gonna have to put my subscription on a different card. So I've been just streaming it, and every time I stream, it's the British broadcast, and they are just super biased towards like even fighters that aren't British. Like I think they just kind of favor a certain style, and I was surprised that they had it that wide, but that was a good fight. I think they'll go at it for a third time. I know people were a little bit down on Sor Rungvisai after that one, but I think that'll be a good rematch. Well, I guess trilogy because that was the rematch.
I definitely got to catch that because I didn't see it the first time, but I've heard a lot about it, so I definitely need to catch it the next time around.
Yeah, you should. It was a good one. It was a really good one. I think but yeah, you know what? Let's before we wrap up, let's talk a little bit more about Canelo and Jacobs. Well, if Jacobs wins the fight, I'm pretty sure they're just going to do an immediate rematch with Canelo. I can't imagine they're having a fight in between. If Canelo wins the fight, are we just assuming that he fights against Triple G in September?
If Canelo wins the fight, which most likely will happen because of what I said, because if you got to beat Canelo to beat Canelo.
Right.
Um, I don't know. Should it happen right away? Because I feel like Triple G need to earn his stripes. And this is why I'm saying this. Canelo has been consistently fighting hard names back to back since the Triple G fight. What have Triple G done since Canelo fight?
Nothing.
He's
He's
been
fighting.
chilling.
And he's fighting. Is his first name Steve Rolls?
Steve Rose, I think that's
Yeah.
his name. You
Yeah.
see what I mean? It's like you
Yeah.
go Canelo fights Jacobs, beat Jacobs. You fight Steve Rose, beat Steve Rose, and then get the Canelo fight again. You see them getting
No,
that? It just seems a little bit
yeah.
lopsided.
I get what you mean. I will say this because I understand and I agree with you, but I also understand to a point. You're looking at Triple G, who's 37 now or 38 maybe. He's getting up there in age. If I'm him, after having two close fights, well, just for the sake of argument, we'll call the first fight close. I know I had the fight close, though, and I did have Triple G winning, but people said it was 10-2. So just for the sake of argument here, people, let's just say both fights were close because the second fight was close. I edged to Canelo. So, if I'm an aging fighter, am I saying, do I want to take a big risk and lose out on a third big payday, or should I just chill because the public still wants that fight anyway? Right? So like from his standpoint, I get what he's doing, but I'll tell you this, if Canelo knocks out Jacobs this coming Saturday, shit, he has the right to not vote. If I'm like, I just beat the third best middleweight.
Exactly.
If you're ranking it, you have probably Canelo or Triple G 1 and 2, and then Jacobs is the third. So I mean, if you're Canelo, you're not pressed to take that fight anymore. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. He just like he can go, I don't really want that. That's still Demetrius Andrade out there. There's still Charlo out there. Those guys are
Billy
hungry.
Joe
They don't even
Saunders
want
out
to
there.
fight.
Yeah.
Yep. There's still those guys out there. That's still, like I said, there's still another title out there that he doesn't have. He can say, you know what? I want to get another title. I don't have to fight Triple G next. I just knocked out Jacobs. You know what I'm saying? You're fighting Steve Rose. I don't have to fight you next. I'll chase another title next. He can say that, and I wouldn't be mad.
Right, but then to your point though, if Triple G goes out there and knocks out Andrade, he fights Andrade or Andre. I know people pronounce it differently, but like if he beats him, then you're like, yo, I just beat this dude who's supposed to be the boogeyman and has the ability to outbox all of us. What's up? Let's meet again in September. You have that claim to, you know what I mean? But you know what? We're built from a little bit different cloth in terms of fans because we've said this before in the past. Me and you were very disappointed in young guys not fighting each other, waiting on that Manny and Floyd paycheck. Whereas, like, if that's me, I want to earn. I want to go up the ranks. I'm taking everybody out. And
that's
now,
how you
like,
get the fight.
That's how you get the fight. You know what I mean? You don't just sit and wait back. Granted, that's not an apples to apples comparison because Triple G already fought Canelo twice, so it's like I get it. But to that point, still, like you should never feel entitled to something. You need to go out there and you need to take that shit. And it's like when you see certain fighters not doing that gets disappointing for me.
And that's all I'm saying. It's like certain fighters have sat back and wait and say, oh, well, I'm gonna wait till no. Go out there and work your ass off, and then they're gonna have no choice but to fight you because they're gonna say that this guy's consistently beating top competition. Then even more, the fans are gonna demand it because the fans are gonna be like, oh, well, he's been beat this, he's been beat that. We want to see this now. It's no need for them to wait. You know, I also want to touch on this a little bit. I want to know since Big Baby Pop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since Big Baby Miller Pop. I want to know, is it unfair that Eddie Hearn offered Ortiz less money than he offered Big Baby? I think it's unfair Because the fact of the matter is, you need Ortiz, and Ortiz has done something that Big Baby hasn't. He has had a title fight already against Wilder. He's
Yeah.
proven that he's a top, because he almost got Wilder out of there. He's
Yeah, he
proven that
did.
he's a top talented fighter. Big Baby hasn't done that yet. So how do you offer him less money and not offer him the exact same pay that you were going to offer Big Baby? I don't understand that. How do you do that? How do you not say, "Hey, I'll give you like this"? This is just being fair. Being fair, Eddie Hearn should say, "Hey, I'll give you exactly what we offered Miller. If you step in to take this place, I'll give you that 6 million plus." How do you say, "Oh, I'll give you 5 million"? You was giving Big Baby 6, and you need Ortiz. I don't get that. I don't understand that logic.
Yeah, I don't either. I think it could be a couple of things. I think one, there may have been some sort of down payment for each fighter, so then you don't have the full 100%. Well, no, you know what? That being said, he got popped for juice. So I would assume you forfeit any money that you earn. So, yeah, I think the money is there. To me, I'm always curious to see what it looks like at the negotiating table, because that could have just been a negotiation tactic. If Hearn just said, "I'll give you this," and Ortiz just said no and left, you didn't give your chance to, you didn't give yourself a chance to negotiate. Now, if he said, "I'll give you this amount," and then Ortiz says, "No, you were giving Miller this amount, I want that," and Hearn says no, to me, that would come across as Hearn wanting to lowball a little bit. So Ortiz doesn't take the fight.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would assume. But that being said, I think stylistically, I think this is a much better fight for Anthony Joshua than it was for Deontay Wilder, because Deontay Wilder's a little bit more wild. He leads more. He gets off balance. Whereas I don't see. And granted, Ortiz is a graded heavyweight. He's an A level guy. But I think stylistically, Joshua is a little bit more composed. He's under control. He doesn't leave himself. Granted, he still gets hit, but he doesn't leave himself open like Wilder does. So I would, and granted, I favored Wilder in that fight, and he wound up beating him. I would favor Joshua a little bit more against Ortiz than I did even Wilder. But I guess Hearn, I think, is just trying to take the biggest names with the least amount of risk, so he eventually gets that, the fight with either Fury or Wilder or both.
But who's out there to take this fight? And it's how many weeks? Is it 4 or 5 weeks they got before they had the fight? So
We are, I think, 5 now, 5 or 6.
Every day the fight is getting closer and closer. So it's like, who do you have to fill that role this fast that's worth seeing?
Yeah, it's they're in a tough spot though, man, because the worst thing that could have happened to them was what happened with Fury and Wilder. I think they allowed them to fight. They said whatever, because now, and I think it wasn't a bad logic going in. You're thinking one of these two are going to take each other out. They're going to take each other out of the considerations, and now that makes the winner of this and Joshua an even bigger fight. Mm-hmm. Well, fucking lo and behold, it was a draw, and now everyone wants to just see the rematch, and everyone just kind of wants Joshua to be on the side until these two guys rematch, and that was the absolute worst thing that could have happened. Mm-hmm. For Team Anthony Joshua. And I'll say this. They better hope Wilder beats Fury in a rematch if it does happen, if it happens first, because I think Fury outboxes Joshua in the same manner that I felt like he outboxed Wilder in the first. I think he's just a different level above these guys, man.
And Eddie Hearn even said that. He's the best skilled big man out there.
Bro,
he's the best skilled big man out there.
When you look at these guys, heavyweights aren't used to having to cut off a ring. Heavyweights aren't used to fighting guys that are that effective with lateral movement, that are that effective fighting tall. Usually they're in the middle of the ring, they're letting shots go, and the first guy who lands wins. And Fury just isn't that type of guy. And I hate to sound blasphemous, but in terms of boxing ability at the heavyweight division, stylistically, we haven't seen this, I don't think, since Ali. Just his head movement, especially being that big. You're talking about dude is 6'7", 260, 270, being able to move like that, being able to have that head movement, being able to shoulder roll, being able to, pull counter. If he can stay off the coke, if he can stay disciplined and not balloon up, I mean, you're talking about an all-time great. In my opinion, I don't see anyone being able to trouble him. And granted, he got caught a couple of times against Wilder, but Wilder just has that. He can knock out a fucking
power.
horse.
Like if he touches you, there's a chance you can go away.
Yeah.
If Wilder touches you right.
But I don't think Joshua has that same power. He's a strong. I think he's physically stronger than Deontay Wilder, but I don't think he has the one punch to put your lights out like Wilder does.
No, it's his accumulation of shots.
Exactly.
If you eat too many of those, then you'll go away. Like you can't continue to get hit with that. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
if he catches you a few times, then you can go away. But with Wilder, it just takes one good shot, and you're like, holy shit, what happened?
Yeah, and the thing that you know that's funny about Wilder is that he doesn't have great fundamentals. So I think that in and of itself was part of the reason why Fury did get caught the couple times he got caught, because he's a weird dude. He's long, and so if you don't measure the distance correctly, you're liable to get punched clean by Wilder because he is that long, and he's a little bit harder to time because he didn't have the fundamentals. So nothing about him is straight up and down. You know what I mean? It's weird. He's a quirky type of guy, whereas Anthony Joshua has really good fundamentals. He's kind of a straight up and down type of dude, which isn't a bad thing, especially in the heavyweight division. But when you're that textbook and you're fighting someone as good as Fury is, I don't think that's a good style for them.
I agree.
So I think before we wrap it up, let's go with some concrete predictions with Canelo and Jacobs, and then we can get out of here. I think you alluded to your pick. You can expand a little bit. Let me go. You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna go Canelo late TKO.
I'm gonna go Canelo, unanimous decision, even though it deserves to be a split decision because it's gonna be really close. It's gonna be a 7-5 fight. It's gonna be one of the ones where people are gonna say it's a rivalry, but
it's just a close fight.
Rivalry and a close fight. It's gonna be one of those. Watch. It's gonna be like it's a rivalry. It's gonna be like, dude, every round was close. The round that you gave to Canelo, you could have gave to Jacobs. The round you gave to Jacobs, you could have gave to Canelo. It just depends on how you score your fights and what do you look for. It's gonna be one of those fights.
I think I agree with you. I do think in the second half of the fight, I think Jacobs is going to feel that, and I think he's going to get more aggressive, and I think he's going to get caught. That's my prediction. I'm liable to be wrong because Jacobs is a hell of a fighter. I wouldn't even doubt if he wins this fight, but Jacobs is one of those dudes who's smart. He's not dumb. He's a student of the game. So he understands that Canelo gets those close decisions, and I think he's going to try and really go for the gusto. I don't think he's going to. But this is what I'm saying. I don't think he's going to do that early, like we're suggesting. I think he's going to do that late, like round 8 or 9, and I think he's going to leave himself open to get caught with some big shots. And I think Canelo to me is the best body puncher in the game, and he's been doing it more. I mean, he did it against Triple G that second fight, and I didn't think he would be able to. I thought Triple G was going to be able to, really land upstairs with those body shots, but Canelo was able to not only not get hit, but work the body while doing so. And I don't know, man. I could be wrong. I'm going out on a limb a little bit, but I'm going Canelo TKO 11.
Okay.
But we'll see. We're gonna recap that fight next week, so we'll see how good or bad our predictions are. I think your predictions is gonna be right, I think. But I didn't want to both say the same thing. I wanted to have a little bit different here. But guys, like Dennis said earlier, we're back. We're looking to be consistent here at least once a week. This time around, we're going to be on different platforms. Last time we were only on YouTube. We're going to be up on YouTube again. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. I need to do a better job of posting and being in there. I've been way just disconnected from everything. That changes moving forward, so you'll be seeing a lot more posts from the both of us. We're going to be on iTunes. We're going to be on Stitcher. We're going to be everywhere where podcasts can be found. Maybe not right away. I know this one will for sure start off on iTunes and YouTube, but just follow us. We'll continue to pump these links out. Share with your friends. Let us know what you think. If we're the dumbest people you've ever heard in regards to boxing, let us know. If we're the fucking smartest people you ever heard, let us know. Give us suggestions. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about, and we'll go from there.
All right. Thanks, guys. Y'all been great.